How's it going, everybody? Moses here with another Wolcen video. This time there are a couple of topics I wanted to cover. One is block, so let's get to it. Block in this game can work really nicely, except I tried to do it with a two-hander. Result, not so great. So let's talk about that. There is a node right here, Kingless Aegis, and then Unorthodox Technique and Regal Blessing. These three give you this one's the major one. Gain block chance no matter what weapon is being used, and an added 6% to your chance to block, and then this is added 3% to your chance to block. And here you got block efficiency. Now let's talk about these two. If I do pick up these two nodes, 6 and 3, that adds up to 9. That will add up to our block chance, which is 7.7%, will then become 16.7%. Right? So far, so good. Also, we have these gems right here. The defensive 1 slot says plus 10% to block chance. 10% becomes an actual 10%. So the 16.7 will then become 26.7, 36.7, 46.7, and 56.7. And so on. It depends on how many gems you're going to be using. I did go up to 56.7, and I thought, okay, roughly 55-60%, a little better than a coin toss. I'll be blocking half of the incoming shots. Seems good, right? And then you get to the actual how much is being blocked. This is a stat that I haven't seen on any other video game. Block efficiency, essentially. When you're blocking, how much damage will be reduced. So far, in any video game I played, this stat is a given 100%. In this game, they thought, okay, let's do block efficiency. Doesn't make too much sense to me. If you raise your shield or raise your weapon and block, you don't take the hit, you don't take the damage. But in here, for some reason, that thing exists. So you need to start investing in that. Now, the way that block efficiency works, unlike flat added damage to block chance, that is pretty simple math. Your base plus 6 plus 3 plus 10 per Alexandrite gem. Block efficiency is an actual multiplier, and it will start building up very, very, very slowly. And the only thing that adds to the base, and even not exactly that, is your shield, right? So you need to have a big shield in order to block, otherwise the values. And I went through this tree and started picking up, block efficiency nodes. They exist here. There's a couple of them, I believe. I'm not sure if they're on this tree, but on the red trees, they exist. I'm not really sure where, but they're there. Believe me, guys. I promise you, they are here. Just can't quite find them yet. Maybe here. There's block chance. There's block efficiency. There's another block efficiency. There's a couple more of them. They hide. All right, they hide across the tree, but they exist and they add up to roughly 100%, which means your damage that's actually being reduced, instead of 15, is going to be maybe 30%, 25, 30, 35 at best, and that is even if you put some defensive 2 Alexandrites in your gem sockets, which will then make it slightly higher with a defensive 2. So if you're using a two-handed weapon, not a very good defensive stat. I would currently avoid it. Maybe they change this node in the future. Maybe some other things happen with the block efficiency stat. But I think that investing 8, 9, 10 points on the tree and investing the gems, losing the life, and life, quite important stat to have, right? So losing the 1k life over here to get the block chance and the block efficiency on gems, I don't really think it's worth it too much, okay? All right, so that's one thing. But with a shield, definitely, one hand with a shield will definitely give you a very solid, good base chance to block with a good block efficiency, and you can start scaling that, build on that, maybe add a couple of gems. Maybe that's how you build your character. Not in this case. All right, the second topic I want to talk about is abuse and exploits in video games, specifically in Wolcen, specifically with this skill, Bleeding Edge. Um, okay, so there are several things at play. Let's start with Bleeding Edge itself. I picked it up throughout the story. I felt the skill is pretty solid. I started leveling it up. It reminded me a lot of the old school Hammerdine. These, in this case, axes, but in this case they spin. You go around, you kill monsters, throw a couple of these, get a little bit of shield happening, jump, leap, cause havoc, and destroy, obliterate your enemies. Right? Seems kind of reminiscent of the Diablo 2 playstyle Hammerdine that I fell in love with so much so many years ago, and still till this very day, kind of iconic. Very much enjoyed this kind of playstyle, and I built to make a crit tank that will use this skill to obliterate the enemies. Fairly solid farming speed, fairly solid boss damage, all very much ethical and legitimate, because that's the kind of man I am. I've been always never actually completely avoiding abusing any kind of game. I don't see the point in that. Except for reporting a bug I accidentally came across, and that I have done my fair share of times. But actually promoting and broadcasting and abuse to the internet, to my Twitch community, is, in my opinion, just A, pointless, and B, wrong. And let's talk about the actual abuse that's been going on. This modifier right here says increased damage per element stack. Now, as a part of leveling a character for the first time in a video game that I play for the first time, I did test out all the modifiers, every one of the skills I came across to play. Back when I did this, I believe it was somewhere in the story, maybe early expeditions, very, very early, maybe a couple mandates. Yeah, I didn't see anything, grossly OP or broken with this thing. But I moved away from it because it says increased damage per element stack, and I build my character to crit, and I got a solid crit chance. We're building towards ferocity, and we pick up all the crit on the tree. This is not a build guide for this character. We have plenty of those. You can check them out. But we build towards crit. We got a solid weapon. We got a solid level of resistances because we picked up this chest, picked up this helmet, and we multiply. Using solid mechanics like siege breakers, elevated gain, and salvatory anchor. We have other mitigating factors for damage on this character with the diet junction and practice stamina, and we build our character very, very solidly, very ethically, and this character can take on everything in the game. And in fact, yesterday, as you may have seen in my previous YouTube video, we finished Ascended 187, which is the highest difficulty in the expedition bar, and it's been a freaking blast. It was long, it was grueling, kind of like journey all the way to the top of the difficulty system, and I love it. I mean, it's been a freaking blast. You get 3 levels each one of the expeditions. That's why the numbers jump by 3. 3 levels, monsters getting harder, loot becomes better, bosses become tougher and tougher. Some of them are actually impossible. We got decent RNG, and we got a solid boss in the end with, I don't know, whatever millions of HP they had. We killed it after a long fight, and came out victorious. Now, what's been going on with this modifier right here is that it makes for an obscenely OP character. Even with just this right here, my damage will go up by, maybe 50, maybe 100 times more. But not only that, it's not telling you how much Wolcen Studios are not doing a very good job with the information they provide on the runes. A lot of the times you'll find them very lacking and not really telling of what's actually going on behind the scenes. For example, the fact that if we pick up this, if we remove this modifier right now, you see that I got some rend damage, some poison damage, some lightning damage, big aether damage because I was trying to get stasis to work on my character. It doesn't quite right now, doesn't matter. But if you, pick up this node, you see it becomes all rend damage and poison damage and some fire damage. So you know, that's kind of weird. And it doesn't say anything about converting. It doesn't say what it does. It just, you know, axe continues to spin, rage cost, you know, just like dry stats, and then plus 4 seconds. But it doesn't tell you what happens behind the scene. Same happens here, even more, because it doesn't say anything except increased damage per element stack. What it doesn't tell you, it increases your damage by roughly, who knows, 2,000, 4,000%. 10,000%? I really don't know. But the fact is that once you click this, you picked it up, and with something that I kind of like passed on casually, because, you know, it's not the way I build my character. I'm not looking for ways to break the game. I just looking for ways to beat the game solidly and ethically, right? So I kind of passed that out without noticing too much. And then yesterday I was explained that if you use this, bleeding edge is in fact busted, and that's what, you know, certain people use. But not only that, there's another thing that people used to use. I believe it's this node right here. Bane of Tyranny was a very well-known exploit that people use. That again, I couldn't care less about because I'm using a two-hander. Essentially, what it did is instead of giving you 0.5% multiplied by your shield's equipped block chance, which is, you know, a couple of nodes that build up to it, and it's really nice. You got 1, 2, and 3, so it's 1.5 if you add it up. 1.5 times your block chance, multiplied by that. If you had a shield with 40, block chance with 50 block chance, you would then gain an increase, not a multiplier, an increase of 75%, 60%. Seems good, right? It's essentially like picking up 15% damage increase nodes, something like that. But instead of 1.5, it says 50, which is not 10 times, but 100 times more than intended. And people use that, and we're like, "Hey, I'm a professional gamer. I beat the game. I'm so good. I'm just a god." No, you're not. You're a cheater who uses bugged mechanics. That's in fact what's going on. But not only that you use the busted node of Bleeding Edge, and use this shield with this busted node that clearly unintended because they fixed it. You also used Grievous Affliction, right? Because this will allow you to apply an additional ailment to your Bleeding Edge, and will hence double whatever it is that was broken that you did before. You now doubled it to be twice as broken. And you used this broken node, so you tripled, quadrupled, who knows how many times. What I'm trying to say is that instead of having like a 5-minute fight, sometimes 10-minute fight in a 186 expedition, or 187 or 165, 170, these real high difficulty bosses have tens of millions and sometimes over 100 million, over 150 million HP. And these fights, and they not only that, they do CC, they knock you back, they stun you, they move around, their AI is challenging, and you gotta avoid shit, and you gotta actually play the video game if you want to beat it, and you gotta play it properly, you gotta position yourself right. It's a big deal, and it's a fuck ton of fun to actually beat it with a skill that I've been enjoying leveling up, that is completely not busted, in a completely legitimate and ethical way that I've been doing. And then you have other people that abuse these other mechanics. Some of them existed, some of them still exist, and they dub themselves by their own accord professional gamers, which is like an absolute joke. And not only that, do whatever you want. I don't give a damn. Like, seriously, I don't. But what I do feel bad about is that tens of thousands of people on a daily, minute-by-minute basis, when these kind of Twitch personalities abuse and share an abuse and an exploit, not only breaking terms of use of Twitch and most likely terms of use of Wolcen, but they're a small company, they don't want to take any kind of disciplinary act against someone who's bringing them all their huge Twitch community, so these things kind of like pass unnoticed, and they'll fix some of the stuff. That's not, disciplinary stuff. It's really not my thing. I just want to play. I just want to do my own thing. I really, really, guys, except the couple minutes that I sometimes host somebody and say hello in their chat and then leave to do my own business. Seriously, I got a life. I don't care what other people do on Twitch. I really, really don't. I don't. Seriously, I stream for 16, 15 hours, 14 hours, whatever it is that I do on a daily basis. I got a job outside of that. This is not my full-time thing. And I live my life. I have my other stuff going on. I don't care. What I do care is that you have tens of thousands of people watching this crap, being exploited live on Twitch, breaking terms of use, and then they think that this game is busted, this game is full of bugs, and it adds to the entire kind of like anti-Wolcen movement that exists of people that are bitter and are salty about this game, where in fact, these are simply bugs that I'm sure will be fixed, and you can still play the video game ethically, and you can still play with a skill like Bleeding Edge, like I've been doing, ethically, just stacking up a lot of damage that you can muster and go out on the dungeon with a solid character that has good resist, that has good tankiness, good damage reduction, using the mechanics that were intended for you to play with, not bust the game with some broken mechanic and call yourself a professional gamer, where in fact you're just abusing, cheating, and it's a complete joke. So this is my couple cents about the Bleeding Edge. Not a busted skill, not the way I've been playing it. And again, you have the choice of doing whatever you guys feel is right. This was me. This was the video block and abuse on Wolcen. You guys take care. If you want to support the stream, feel free to hop by, throw me a follow on Twitch. I'm streaming all the time, like non-stop, guys. This has been a freaking blast, and we're kind of like very excited to start our next build. I have a couple of ideas, and hopefully they'll all turn out as well as this first character did. And yeah, hope to see you guys there. Thank you very much for watching.